Well, for decades, Rick Sanchez was inside the system. He worked at CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. He lived in the world of corporate news at the highest level. But somewhere along the way, he started noticing something most Americans are now noticing too. The people who tell you what to think about the world are often the least honest people in it. So Sanchez walked away. These days, he hosts The Sanchez Effect from Moscow and Miami, where he's become one of the loudest critics of Washington's foreign policy establishment. And in just the last few months, he's traveled to Minsk to interview Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko face to face. He went to Tehran and sat down with Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, talking about nuclear negotiations, the possibility of a war with Iran. That was just before the war broke out. And he's repeatedly questioned the official narrative surrounding Israel, Gaza, and America's role in that genocide. So then came the predictable part. Despite more than 100,000 subscribers, tens of millions of views, YouTube banned his channel. No explanation, no meaningful appeal, of course, just gone, because that's the way they do things. So we have Rick Sanchez joining us now. Rick, it is great to finally get you on this show. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Oh, Kim, thanks. That's nice. I appreciate it.
I've been trying to get you on the show actually for several years. I don't know if you know this.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, I've emailed a few times, and we've tried to make something work even a couple of years ago. Wasn't able to get it done, but now you're finally here. So thank you for joining us.
I love you. You would have had me at hello.
Okay, so I first want to talk to you about your recent censorship. A lot of us thought that this was over with, the whole ripping people off of YouTube. They started really doing it, I want to say after J6. I think they were doing it a bit before then, but that's when they really ramped up quite a bit, was around that time. And then then it really ramped up a lot during COVID, and a lot of people were censored during COVID. And also it was just anything election related or COVID. And I thought those days were behind us. And suddenly I see that you had been ripped off of YouTube really recently. What was that about? Do you even know why?
I don't. I don't have a clear explanation for it, nor did they give me a clear explanation. And that's, by the way, that's a great starting point for this. That's crazy that when you are on a platform like YouTube, you literally are signing away your right to retain all of your work and your right to be on the air, your right to receive, I had just built this thing up. So we were getting between 10 and 20,000 followers a week on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And we just hit 120,000. We did it in less than a year. And we were just going to the moon with this thing, and everything seemed to be going okay. And then all of a sudden, one day you wake up and you look and you say, and you see a message that says your channel doesn't exist anymore. We've taken it off the air. And I guess, I made a decision a long time ago that I wanted to continue doing this show that I was doing, which was affiliated with RT, which is a Russian television station, but it was essentially me doing a newscast in the United States, and they were somewhat funding it while I was there. And then Mr. Biden decided that it was illegal for me to practice journalism if I had any association at all with Russia, which I think is really stupid, because I think you should be able to practice journalism whether you have an association with Mars, the moon, Pluto, China, or anywhere. Why do we allow people to be part of the BBC or Le Monde or any other or Israeli television networks? You could even argue that Israel owns a lot of the television networks, and a lot of the journalists that work in the United States are actually Israeli, because they are. So, but all of a sudden, because I have an association with Moscow and this television network where I feel more free than I ever did when I worked at NBC or CNN or Fox, that I shouldn't be allowed to practice. So if you were to put a gun to my head and say, why do you really think, you have to give me the answer, why do you think that YouTube took you off the air? I think it's because they didn't want someone who had an association with Russia to be on the air. I think
they didn't tell you.
No.
So you don't really fully know.
I really don't fully know. It could be that I was, at the same time, I was really hitting Israel really hard at that time, really hard with some of the things that were going on there. And one of my producers, Laith, who you may know, said he thought it may have been that as well. So we're really not sure. It was
Yeah,
painful, though.
I was a
Hard.
little suspicious that it might have been because of Israel. I mean, the Russia thing. The only thing about the Russia thing, don't you just have to? Is it illegal to work for RT? I thought that you just had to register with the, which I don't agree with at all. The foreign registration, FARA.
Well, first of all, I'm an independent contractor. Second of all, I'm also working through Ben Swan, who owns a company which is
Right.
registered in the United States, and I am employed by him. So, yes, I am legally working in Russia through an American company. And as far as where you happen to put your broadcast studio, who cares whether you're broadcasting? You're in Italy and you're
Yeah.
American. I'm
Right.
in Moscow and I'm American and I'm telling American stories and talking to an American audience or a Western audience. So
Yeah.
it shouldn't matter what your geographic location is.
Right. But for some reason it does. I mean, and I really have a problem with the FARA registration anyway, just because it's so arbitrary. To me, it should be either everybody who's working for some foreign entity taking money, I guess, or whatever, no matter if it's friend or foe, would have to register, or no one needs to register in that way. But for them to pick and choose and say, well, today we feel like it should be Russia, and today we feel like it should be,
China.
China,
Right.
but tomorrow, I mean, who knows what the next president will say and which countries they deem to be, enemies or hostile or something. So it's so arbitrary.
Yeah, and that's a good point you just raised, because see, I felt that it was all because of Biden, because Biden and his team were like this complete Russia-phobes, which makes absolutely no sense. If you come to Russia, if you ever get an opportunity to come here, first of all, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. The people are absolutely magnificent, and they love America, and they love everything about America, and they love our culture. And if you go to a mall, you feel like you're in America. And they share our faith and they share our thinking. They're just so much like us, and they love us. And all we do is kick them in the teeth. It's like they do nothing but want to trade with us and be a part of our economic plan. And they want to. Hell, Putin at one point said to the United States, "Let me join NATO. Let's do a pact where we use our nuclear weapons and combine it with your nuclear weapons," as he told Condoleezza Rice, so that we can create some kind of like force field, to keep the world safe. And the United States, no. The United States basically has always said, we'd rather be your enemy. We don't want to be your friend. We don't make money being friends with you. We make money being enemies with you so we can make more
Right.
bombs and more wars and scare people about you. And that seems to be the thing that's at the root of this. But what pisses me off is, that's fine. If you want to be an idiot and make money off of wars, great. But when you start using that as a reason to keep me as a journalist from practicing my craft, which is something which is the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, I should be able to practice my craft anywhere, under any reason, for anything and I should be able to say even whatever the hell I want to say. There's nothing outrageous about my messaging, but simply because I have some kind of alignment, they think, with Russia, or that I've been too mean to Israel, I shouldn't be allowed to have a YouTube channel. That's bullshit.
Did you get any strikes before then?
No.
Or did they just take your channel away? That was it. They didn't even give you warnings.
They just took it away. From time to time, my producer had said that we had used some video that we shouldn't have used, that kind of thing.
Oh, but that happens.
That was copyrighted.
But that's not a strike.
That was it.
That's not a strike. And
that was it.
You haven't been able to get it back. Or are you?
I haven't. No, I'm not. My producer just put up a new page called Rick Sanchez. I think it's got 5 people watching so far. Just kidding. It's got a couple thousand or something right away. But I told him, I said, look, do the best you can. I hired a lawyer who's trying to talk to them and look into it. And if there's a possibility that I get it back, I think part of the argument now is that I'm going to be back in Miami very soon, because I spent half my time here and half my time in Miami. And hopefully I'll be able to have a conversation and show them there that I'm in South Florida. The other thing is, maybe because, I do a show, I do podcasts like this. I do a live stream. And at the same time, I also do a show that airs on RT. Right. And from time to time, we would take interviews from that show on RT and put it on the show. And maybe that's why they hit me. You're not allowed to put RT's material on the air because they're sanctioned. But again, That's the reason it just seems nonsensical to me and unfair.
I don't think it's because you're in Russia. And the reason is because there are other shows that are also based in Russia. I believe Jackson Hinkle's Legitimate Targets is based in Russia. And I think it's still up and running. And he also says a lot of stuff against Israel. So I don't, but maybe there's other reasons why his is still on the air. But yours, I mean, maybe, you were going hard after Israel, but I feel like a lot of people do. I mean, Tucker Carlson says a lot. Well, I don't know, though. I think you were even more aggressive than most. You were really going after them. I mean, legitimately.
I was saying what they deserve to hear. I mean, that they're one of the least respected countries in the world right now, and the Netanyahu government has gone absolutely berserk, and the things that they have done are appalling. And anytime that you are massacring innocents, my faith, my religion, my universal teaching tells me that it is my duty to criticize you for doing something like that. And that's basically what I was saying. I'm not against Israel as an institution or as a country or as a place. I've visited Israel. But when they do those kinds of things, it deserves to be said. It deserves to be criticized. It deserves to be talked about. And that's kind of what I do. That's what I was doing at the time. But I gave them a fair hearing. They would come on my show. Bibi Netanyahu's associate was on my show, and I certainly gave him a fair hearing. And I asked him at the end, have I been fair? He goes, yeah, you've been fair. I said, okay, good to know.
So he thinks you're wrong. He thinks you're wrong, but you're fair, right? They think you're wrong. Like, we're not committing genocide. There's nothing to see here. You guys have got it all wrong. Don't believe your eyes. Yeah. Right?
That's what he said. And he said, and the other thing they always say is what he said to me, and I'm only saying this because you just reminded me of that conversation. He really pushed for this argument that it really just all began on October 7th, that there was no history to this prior to October 7th. And that's the part that always frustrates me a bit, because that's not true.
They play on our ignorance. And I think even the Trump administration recently has been playing on our ignorance. I mean, just yesterday, Pete Hegseth came out and said, what was it, that we're doing Operation Freedom which that's what they're calling it now, to open the Strait of Hormuz because Iran's been terrorizing us with the closure of the strait for like 47 years. I mean, they play on, people just not knowing anything, really paying too much. People pay attention to their own lives. They're busy. They've got kids. They've got jobs. They've got lives, and they're not paying attention too much. And they just pry on us being really ignorant. They rely on it, actually.
I was talking to one of my brokers the other day, and he said that to me. He said, well, what do you think? I think we're doing a good thing here. I mean, we got to do this because they got all those nuclear weapons, and this will be over very soon. Don't worry about it. And it's just, they're buying into that. And it's like, first of all, it's they don't have nuclear weapons. And that's been proven time and time again post JCOA, because the inspectors were there. And then you have Mr. Trump himself saying, if they had nuclear weapons, they're gone now because we blew them all up. So how can you have those facts and then all of a sudden just come back and say just the opposite? No, they had them after all. Turns out we were wrong, and now we're going to destroy the world because we may have gotten that wrong, when in actuality, the guy I grew up with, Mr. Rubio in Miami, just came out and said recently that no, in fact, the only reason we went into Iran is because Israel made us do it. Essentially, they were going to do it, so we thought we'd preempt them somewhat, which he said, which was like crazy because it was the opposite of what the president was saying. And then you got Hegseth out there like Barney Fife saying some of the craziest things, and you're just wondering what the hell happened to our country. How did we get to this point where we're doing something like this? And Trump, of all people. The funny thing about this, Kim, is that in many ways, he is the guy who has made us now all realize that this is all wrong, because we're all thinking about what we wanted and what we could have had. Trump made us think of what it would be like to have a president who really believed in America first and who really didn't go to wars endlessly. And that didn't really just do whatever the hell the donors or big tech or whatever it is that Israel wanted. So it's almost like somebody gives you a false hope, as an American, maybe I don't know who you voted for, but I mean, he gave me that. I felt like,
Right.
okay, I think this could happen. So I bought it. I wanted it so bad. I saw it. And then to have that guy who sold you the message rip it away, that's why for the first time in my lifetime, and I'm old as hell, I'm seeing Americans finally seeing the truth. And the reason they're
Yeah.
seeing the truth is because they saw it, they had it ripped away, and now they see it even better. If nobody made the promise, maybe we wouldn't notice. Because Biden did the same shit, and so did Obama, and so did Bush, and they all did in
Right.
some respect. And we just kind of went along to get along. This is the first time Americans are actually turning on the government and saying, you guys have been lying to us all along, and we're tired of this Israel thing. And I think it's because of that, because of the promise he made. Maybe we owe him.
Well, some people have thought maybe this is some form of 5D chess, like no, he really is actually restoring America to Americans by exposing through doing all of these various different movements, exposing the truth about our system. But I don't think that's what's happening. I think he's actually just part of the swamp now, unfortunately, and he's become a complete swamp creature. Or maybe he always was one, and maybe it was somebody else behind the messaging of drain the swamp, America first. I kind of wonder about that.
Do you ever
if it was
wonder-
Steve Bannon all along,
Do you ever wonder? Because sometimes I think, first of all, I've got enormous respect for his resilience and what he was able to pull off when the whole world was coming down on him. This guy was in a jail cell. All of a sudden, he's the president of the United States. So, in some respect, I kind of respect that. However, I think he's a very greedy guy, and I think he wants to get everything he can. And I think he's using the presidency to get everything he can. And it makes me wonder, what is that thing in all of us? And what would I do? If somebody took $300 million and, showed it to me and put it in front of my face and said, you can have this. All you got to do is change this little policy or do this little thing. I mean, the guy's accumulating, according to the reports that I've read, and they're very credible, I think, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars since he's been the president. Remember, Jimmy Carter was bankrupted by the presidency. This guy is becoming one of the richest Americans because of the presidency. And would I do that if I had that opportunity? What would be my price? What would be the point? What would be the money? And is that what's really
I'm
driving
say no.
him?
I don't think you would. Because you've already shown yourself to be somebody that has principle. I mean, just even the selection of career, right? You're keeping to your convictions. You haven't sold out on narratives. You're still willing to criticize even when it's unpopular. I mean, you're sacrificing. So I think that there are certainly a lot of people, especially in our industry, who absolutely they do sell out. They know what they can and cannot say, and they stick to those because they don't want to lose money or jobs or opportunities. And that's the person. And I think that's actually kind of the majority of people. And if they were shown to 300 million or 3 billion or however much money it is after being president of the United States, and they say, okay, yeah, I could just enrich myself and my family to levels that we never thought were possible before, maybe they would just take those opportunities and say, you know what? It's a dog eat dog world out there, to each their own. This is my path. I'm taking it.
And that's kind of infiltrated us as Americans.
Thanks for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern for free at KimIversonShow.com. See you there.